Yo, so I basically got invited to COD Next, and essentially what that is, we went ahead and flew out to LA. We got to play Modern Warfare 3 and the new Warzone map, Urzikstan, early. I was able to stream for, I think it was about 4 or 5 hours, and really dive into what they've been working on for the past year or so. I'm really excited to be covering this, give you guys my thoughts on exactly what I thought about the new map, the new mechanics, the gameplay, things like that. I know there's somewhat of a assumption that since, you know, we went ahead and we were invited by Call of Duty to play the game early, that we basically have to say good things about it. But I promise you that's not the case. This was my first event and nothing like that was said. We can have our own opinions. Let's dive into it. Now, I just want to start off by saying that my pros and my cons essentially are just going to be from my experience of playing the game early and experiencing Warzone and the new map Urzikstan. This is just going to be my preferences, the things that I saw, that I got to experience, I played. To start off, obviously, we're going to start off the pros and then we'll work on the cons and then we'll kind of wrap it up and things like that. I'm going to have some gameplay playing right now that you guys can go ahead and watch along to. I'm going to try and, if I'm talking about it, I'm going to try and have some footage of it. But like I said, we only went ahead and played for like 4 or 5 hours, so I don't have a whole lot of footage. Also, for some reason, some of the recordings in the VOD, a lot of it was like kind of stuttery and lagging, so there's not a whole lot of gameplay just anyway, but I should have enough to go ahead and cover the whole entirety of this video. The first thing I want to go ahead and talk about is the TTK. So when we were playing the game, it actually felt very nice. It felt really balanced. It didn't feel like I was getting laser beamed or it was taking me forever to kill anybody. I remember they were talking about something, I don't know exactly where it was put. It might have been Twitter, YouTube, something like that, but they went ahead and talked to us in the tech briefing as well, that the multipliers for like headshot, neck shots, shoulder shots, body shots, things like that, we're going to be worked on a lot. Basically, that's something that they've been putting a lot of time into. That way, you don't have something that you're going to basically feel like you've just been 3-shotted or whatever. It's going to feel a lot more balanced and fair in terms of how quickly you die in the game. Like I said, they're not going to have it feel like, oh, you know, I just got absolutely zapped or laser beamed or anything like that. When I was playing the game, it actually felt very nice. I got into a multitude of gunfights, things like that. Snipers one shot is coming back. That is honestly very exciting to hear and to see when we played. The sniper that we got to play, I think it was like a 50 caliber sniper. Honestly, it was insane. Seeing that sniping is going to be back is really exciting, especially because you guys all know how kind of we play. Now, the second thing I want to go ahead and talk about for the pros section is essentially all of the visual, I would call it kind of clutter and noise, things like that, for when you're actually shooting your gun. If you guys see in some of the gameplay, you're actually going to notice it is a complete night and day difference from what we have in Warzone 2 right now. Seeing that there's no like smoke from your barrel or silencer or whatnot like that you have right now, and there is still recoil in the game, don't get me wrong. I want to let you guys know there's still recoil, but in terms of how it looks when you're shooting the gun, it honestly felt to me, as a mouse and keyboard player especially, dealing with everything that you have the past year with Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2, it was just completely night and day. Honestly, it felt like I was shooting a laser pointer, and at times I actually would almost overcorrect because I kind of wasn't expecting it to be that clear when shooting the guns. So that's really nice to see. Honestly, I'm super excited for the upcoming year and everything that we have going forward, honestly, because like I said, as a mouse and keyboard user, one of the most important things is being able to just see what you're shooting when you're shooting. In terms of like controller players with aim assist, you don't necessarily have to all the time just because it kind of works for you a little bit. It was a really, really refreshing thing to see, that essentially that I could see, so that when you're firing your guns, there's not a whole bunch of smoke or muzzle flare or, you know, anything like that. So that was really nice to see, and I'm very excited going forward for that. All right, so the next thing I want to go ahead and cover is going to be movement. Now, there's a bunch of different things that I can break down movement, so that's what I'm going to do kind of piece by piece. Overall, when we went and played the game and Urzikstan, the new Call of Duty map, Warzone map, it felt amazing. Honestly, it was a lot faster, smoother. Everything about it just felt like Warzone 1, like Verdansk. The only thing I will say is that the slide cancel, like I said, it felt good, but I think it can actually be a little bit better, and we can go kind of backwards towards more of a Verdansk kind of vibe of slide canceling. Now, I don't know if they really want to do that or if this was like a bug or if it was intentional. Basically, the slide canceling that I felt when I was playing the game, it had a slight delay from after you would actually perform the slide cancel. So what I would actually notice is basically after I would do a slide cancel, I'd either catch myself kind of sticking into a crouch, not being able to kind of sprint fully after. But what I noticed is actually, so it's a kind of a different movement now. It's not like a slide jump. It's basically if you just do a slide and then a jump, it'll kind of decrease the delay. What I'm curious is like I said, I don't know if it's going to be intentional or if it's like a bug that we kind of ran into in the alpha version or the beta version. I'm really hoping they can go ahead and kind of eliminate that. And I think that's what you're probably going to hear from, honestly, basically every creator that plays the game. That was probably the number one thing that everybody kind of mentioned at the venue and COD Next. So I'm really hoping they can go ahead and I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it needs to be repaired or if that's intentional, but I'm hoping they can go ahead and kind of give us some kind of a compromise there, because it kind of did ruin the flow of it a little bit. And like I said, I don't know if they were trying to take us to like a Verdansk kind of vibe or if it was just kind of a compromise between Al Mazrah and what we have now. I'm really hoping they can go ahead and kind of fine tune that and make it a little bit more smoother. But overall, the slide cancel honestly was amazing. It was really refreshing to play. It was actually kind of tough for a second because I just wasn't used to doing that from playing Al Mazrah for the last year. So I'm really excited to see what direction they go in, and I'm actually really hopeful. All right, and so basically with the mantling now that we had introduced in Al Mazrah and Warzone 2, we've kind of come to know it as a little bit of a slower mechanic. They've actually sped that up, which is honestly amazing. It was really fast and it was very noticeable, the difference in the actual mantling. I didn't find myself actually getting kind of stuck on different like railings and just kind of being there, sitting there, ledge hanging and whatnot, and it felt really good. So the mantling was a lot quicker than what we have right now in Al Mazrah, and I think it'll play a lot better. The next thing also is they did have sliding while ADSing, and I don't think it's going to be like a perk or anything you need for Warzone. I think it's going to just be a default base movement that they introduced with this new map, Urzikstan. It's basically you can go ahead and you can slide and ADS, but you can also fire while you're sliding, ADSing, and everything. So it was honestly really cool to see. Basically, all you did was just ADS while you were sliding, and then you could fire. So I think that's going to have a lot of outplay potential and bring a little bit more of the skill gap back to Call of Duty Warzone. And I'm really excited to see kind of what kind of plays people can make with that, including myself. Also, another thing they said in the tech briefing that they gave us is stims are actually going to bring you a little bit of a movement buff now. It's going to give you a little bit of that movement buff that we saw in Caldera and the boost, but it's not going to be as drastic as it. Now, I went ahead and I did actually find a stim in the new map while we were playing there a couple of times. I think it could be sped up a little bit because they did say they wanted to get away from the smoke meta, but I don't know if it's quick enough for us to kind of justify running stims over smokes just yet. I'm hopefully thinking that that's probably going to be something that they speed up in time if they really want to get rid of the smoke meta that we have right now. So overall, the movement honestly felt like a very drastic change. It felt amazing to play while we were there, and I'm really excited to see how they can improve it over time. I do honestly think that it does have a little thing, like a couple little things that they could polish, and then I think we would be honestly kind of back to a Verdansk vibe, and the movement, it would feel a lot better with just some of these small things that they could change. So I'm really hopeful to see what they do in the future. Those are just kind of the things about the movements that I thought honestly were really good, and some of them that, you know, obviously needed a little work. But right now, it's a lot better than what we have in Al Mazrah and Warzone 2, so I'm really glad to see that. And in terms of the map, Urzikstan, there was definitely a lot of Verdansk vibes. I didn't get to play a whole lot. Like I said, it was only a couple of hours, so I didn't get to explore the entire map and everything like that and really feel it out. But for everything and everywhere that I was playing in the game, it honestly, it felt kind of like a combination between Al Mazrah and Verdansk. The main thing that I really did notice is there really wasn't any like super open kind of patches of land where you basically had no cover but hills and things like that. So that was honestly really refreshing to see. There was a lot of POIs and buildings, things like that. They had the downtown like Verdansk did in the old Verdansk and stuff like that, with a bunch of skyscrapers, and there's a construction site in the middle of the map and things. Another thing, like I said, in the middle of the map, that the last two maps that we've had is there's no like giant peak in the middle of the map. There's no giant just super high ground or anything like that in the map. So I'm really excited to see how it kind of plays out. In terms of the map, I am getting a lot of Verdansk vibes with all the buildings and different POIs and things like that. There's also a train on the map now that's actually really cool, that they basically kind of gave us a buff with the train. There's a buy station on it. There's a UAV, like the portable UAV that you can type in and spend like some money to activate. And get this, the train, it now goes backwards, and you can stop the train. You can literally be a conductor in Warzone now. And honestly, I see this being huge. When I was talking to a dev at the event and at the venue, I specifically asked him to put a recon on the train, so that way we could have an insane train, almost like a movie, where we could just do everything that we needed to on the train. It was sick. And honestly, I'm really hoping that he does. All right, so these next couple points I want to kind of go through a little bit quicker, just because I don't want the video to be too long and things like that. They don't need much explanation, things like that. The first thing, honestly, is pretty cool. The backpack system is basically new. You're going to be able to carry every single type of ammo. And while I was playing, it was very nice to see, finally, that it would basically just auto pick up your plates and your ammo, and then you would basically have 5 different slots in your bag representing the different ammo types. You have the AR, SMG, shotgun, launchers, and then sniper ammo. So you can basically have every single type of ammo that you could ever use in the game. But if you only have like just an AR and SMG, it doesn't matter. You're going to have all of that ammo as well. So let's say you have a friend that's sniping or something. He runs out of ammo and you've been killing people, picking up loot, you know, things like that. You're going to have that full ammo, so you can just go ahead and drop for him. And honestly, that's really nice. It's really refreshing to see, especially seeing as how our backpack system has honestly been just a train wreck the last year, and it's been super annoying. And then they started basically trying to fix it, but then it only picks up SMG ammo or ammo that you don't even have, like for the gun. I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out into the backpack system that we have. It's very refreshing, so it's really nice to see that. Also, for the minimap, there's going to be the classic Call of Duty minimap. So if you're not running a suppressor on your gun, you're going to be popping up on the UAV while you're shooting. And I don't know if I have the footage or not, but actually I was really surprised. I was like, I don't know, we don't have a UAV up or anything like that. How are people on the minimap? And then my teammates reminded me, hey, like, you know, we have the old school thing and they don't have any suppressor on their gun. They're shooting. And with bird's eye, it looked even crazier. And I saw exactly where they were. So it's pretty cool to see that. The rarity system for ground loot, from basic to like legendary, you know, the different colors, blue, orange, things like that. From custom guns, you'll be able to differentiate on the ground loot as well. Another big thing that I was experiencing while playing that I absolutely cannot stand, it's gotten me killed thousands and thousands and thousands of times in Al Mazrah. Reload canceling is finally back in the game. And it felt amazing in the situations in which I actually needed to use it. Finally seeing it be able to actually save me is a really refreshing thing to see and experience, because the last year it's been super frustrating to deal with, and I'm honestly really kind of tired of it. So I'm glad that they brought that back and they're finally listening. Things are finally looking like they're going up for us. Yeah, I'm excited to see basically everything else that they have for us. They added some new things on the map as well. There's horizontal zips instead of just vertical ones, so you can go across the map with a zip and things like that from building to building where they have them. That was honestly really cool. You can hip fire while zipping. I think one thing for the horizontal zips I would say is that they could probably speed it up just a little bit. It seemed a little slow. And I think, honestly, if you were playing a pretty decent team, or honestly maybe just a 3-man or whatever it might be, you'll probably get beamed off it if people see you taking it. So I think if they sped it up a little bit, it would probably be a lot nicer, and you would justify being able to actually take them in scenarios instead of just kind of jumping and parachuting off or something. But that was also really cool. Water fighting is honestly insane now. The graphics and what I saw while playing, while in the, you know, scenarios that I was in water, wasn't that often, because honestly the map doesn't make you and force you like to play your end games in water or whatever it might be, or have to travel by water or swim, you know, just to survive and things like that. Everybody gets a holstered pistol so that when you jump in the water, you automatically take that pistol out, so you're not just susceptible to somebody landing back in on you with, like, from the gulag with a pistol and just completely killing you because you can't shoot underwater with your guns. And then when you surface, you take out your regular guns. So that was honestly something really sick to see and refreshing, because I don't know about you guys, but there's been plenty of times where I've had to just jump in the water. I don't have a pistol or an auto pistol or whatever it might be. Somebody just lands in there, or they just have a pistol for whatever reason, and they just smoke me and I can't do anything, and it's honestly super frustrating. So that was really refreshing to see. Everybody gets a pistol in the water, and it'll just automatically take it out once you go underwater. Not to mention that there's no real like dirt or anything like that in the water where I was kind of playing. You could actually see in the water. You could see what you were shooting at. You could see around you. You weren't just going to completely get snuck up on by somebody in the water. So that was really cool to see, and I'm excited to see how that kind of plays out. Like I said, the map really was like, it didn't feel like it was actually designed for a lot of your time to be spent in the water. Like basically whenever there would be bridges and parts of the maps where you have to pass, I would really just take the bridge or drive across it, or honestly there was a lot of times which you could just kind of parachute from one point on the other side of the bridge to, like, you know, the other side of the ravine, and you didn't really even have to get in the water. So that was really cool to see, and I'm excited for that. Like I said, the visibility underwater was a lot better, things like that, and it's honestly really cool to see that they're listening, you know. They're seeing exactly what we're going through under, you know, Infinity Ward and what they've provided us with the last year and things. And it honestly seems like they're just listening more to the community. So I'm excited to see how they improve upon it. And everything is basically like 10 times better than what we have in Al Mazrah, even though that might not be hard, but it's a lot better than what we have right now. So, all right. So that basically wraps up the pros section of the video. And we're going to go ahead and list some cons. Now, the cons, honestly, a lot of them were just basically kind of fine-tune adjustment, little things. There wasn't anything really drastic or any big con that I noticed while playing the game. Like I said, there could be some cons that you guys saw that I didn't see. We didn't really get to play for too long, so if I were to really nitpick and stuff like that with more time, I probably could. But the first thing that I noticed was that the pacing really felt fast. I think they went ahead and decreased the match times to like 20 minutes a match, rather than kind of the time frame in which I would like to see it probably be 25 to 30 a match, as well as the player count. While we were there, it was set at 100. I'm hoping that's something that was maybe just for the event there, so they could try and like fill the lobbies. And it honestly felt like the map could handle 150 players. I don't think that 100 would be enough. Honestly, it felt like an enormous map. I don't know the scale to like Verdansk or Al Mazrah or Caldera, things like that. But just to me, I really kind of hope that 150 would be the norm, and I hope that it could handle it. It felt like it could, but yeah. So also something that I did notice, and I mentioned it within the movement, is that there's a bit of a delay between the slide cancel and kind of after. So when you would try and slide cancel to like a sprint, it would really kind of catch you, at least for me, and you'll probably notice it in the gameplay, is that it would kind of force me to be in a crouch for a split second, and then I could run after it. So I'm hoping that that's something not intentional and possibly just a bug, because if it's intentional, then they may not want to kind of fine tune it and adjust it and fix it. If it is a bug, hopefully that's something that they're looking at and they're already working on. Another thing I noticed was the buy station. Basically, it's the same UI and menu system that we have right now in Al Mazrah, and I'm kind of not really in favor of that. I kind of wish we would go back to just kind of like the list style, Verdansk style buy that we had, where you basically just open up the buy and you have a whole list basically you just pick from. You didn't have 3 different categories you can go into, and then all those would have different blocks and such like that. So I'm really hoping that we can kind of get away from that. I don't think it's going to be something that they ever change, because they do have like the perks you can buy and your weapons and such. But I just kind of hope that we could go back to that, because I think it would be a lot more simplistic and it would make the game flow a little bit better and things like that. In terms of movement cons, like I said, the slide canceling delay, I'm hoping they fix that, as well as there's no bunny hopping still. And that's honestly something I really enjoyed doing in Verdansk and other Call of Duties in the past, is just being able to kind of bunny hop. It's just more control of your character. It's more fluid. It's smooth. I mean, it really kind of brings back the old Call of Duty to the game. And it's something I would really like to see. But another movement thing is, some of you guys may be aware of the prone to jump kind of mechanic that you can do in Al Mazrah right now. It seems like they went ahead and just completely removed that while we were there, and it seems like that might be something that's there to stay, which kind of sucks, because it's actually a really cool movement and it's a lot easier for me to do on mouse and keyboard than like a controller or something like that. So I really like that tactic, that mechanic to use against people, because people really don't really expect it. I'm hoping that it comes back, and that, like I said, a lot of these little movement things are just either bugs, or like in the alpha it's not really just ready and stuff like that, because I really enjoyed all of those kind of movement things. Another thing is the shooting after you dive. So if you shoot or if you dive, and then basically in Al Mazrah, the way that it is you'll dive and then you can't shoot for like a second, like honestly like a second or two, and then you can shoot. I noticed that there wasn't that large of a delay, but there still was. Now, I know that's something that kind of can be a little tough, but I would like to see that be eliminated, and basically you can kind of dive and then you can hit the ground and then shoot, not be a delay, because like I said, that kind of stuff just speeds up the pace of the game. It makes it feel a lot more fluid and smooth, and I think if I speak for everybody, I think everybody would kind of like to see that. as well as it kind of would just pick up the pace of the game. You'd have more control of your character and the way that it kind of moves, things like that. And I know that in Almaja, that kind of stuff has gotten me killed countless times. So it's just really frustrating and annoying to see and experience. And it's something that I just hope that they kind of change going forward. So also, when I was playing, I would actually be shooting at my teammates a lot of the time because the name tags on the characters, they weren't that large. They seemed like you could kind of see through it, and they were really small. So like you'll probably see it in the gameplay that I would actually like shoot my teammates a lot of the time because I had no idea that they were actually my teammates. So that's something that I hope that they're going to change, because in like multiplayer and stuff like that, I experienced the same thing. And like, if that's in hardcore, you're probably going to team kill a lot and cause some trouble and some chaos there. So I'm hoping that they can fix that, get that readjusted so where it's actually visible. You can see it, you know who's on your team from distance and from far, you know, from up close, things like that. Because that was something that was honestly super common while we were playing, was just being able to not really differentiate your teammates from the enemy. So that was another thing. I noticed that when I was killing people, you would not have the traditional calling card little icon that would pop up when you killed people. And honestly, that's a pretty decent sized con for me, just because, you know, you kind of grind for calling cards and emblems. And if you have a really cool, like a nuke one or like a top 250 ranked one, and you want to show that off, like what's the point of even having that if it's not going to pop up? I mean, I don't think really anybody looks at it in the menu screen anymore, and I don't think it even shows it in the menu screen. So I would like to see that come back for a little bit more customization. That way you're actually kind of showing off what you've achieved, what you've grinded for in the game, things like that. Also, I don't know if it was just me or not, but when we were fighting teams in the game, I didn't really see any kind of like team wipe notifications. So, and like I said, this was like an alpha build that we played. It was pretty early. I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was the beta or the alpha, but I really wasn't seeing many of those things. With it being the Warzone though, I would assume that it was the alpha of it, and that those are just some of the things that they kind of are aware of and can fine tune and adjust, fix things like that. Floating loot is also something that's not in the game again, but I would really like to see that come back because it was really simple. And I think it's something that they could really adjust pretty quickly. Floating loot in Verdansk was awesome. The auto loot is something, like I said, that was a pro, that it automatically picks up any type of ammo on the ground until you're full in your backpack, and then it auto picks up plates as well. So that's really cool. But I honestly wish that the loot was just like floating loot, because it can get kind of difficult with things like stuck in the ground and things like maybe behind vests or under like riot shields, things like that. It would make it just kind of difficult to loot in general. So I think floating loot would actually be a huge step up in regards to loot and stuff like that, and it would really take us back to that kind of Verdansk vibe that we had. Going forward also as well, tuning is going to be returning, which honestly I'm really not a big fan of tuning. I really hate it. I don't like doing it. For me, am such a simple person where I just want to put the attachment on and that's it. I don't want to have to be a freaking scientist or researcher figuring out exactly what point, you know, to put it to for the maximum damage range or value or whatever it might be. And that's something that I just personally, I really don't like about the game. To see it return, I think is a huge con. It's distracting. It takes away from the simplicity of the game. And honestly, I hope they kind of remove it at some point. I don't know if they will or not, but I'm honestly really hoping they do, because another year of tuning can be kind of frustrating and annoying. I don't personally like to do it. So another thing is the vehicles in the game are still horrendous. They're terrible. I hopped in an airplane or the helicopter. It's still slow. It's still sluggish. The Jeep took like a year to ramp up and finally get going, and then the turning on it was terrible. LTV and the Bertha was just exactly the same as we've had in Warzone 2. And I honestly really hope that they can try and get back to that Verdansk style, because I don't know how we deviated from it so much. But it seemed like such an easy thing with Verdansk for them to do, and all the vehicles in Verdansk were honestly amazing. The helicopter was basically like a ninja with how like agile and the speed of it. The Bertha handling and the SUV handling was amazing, with the occasional like you could flip it and whatnot. But yeah, I mean the Warzone 2 vehicles just are terrible. They're slow, they're sluggish, they're easy to just shoot at, and like it's really annoying to have to kind of deal with. So I'm hoping they can try and do something with that. I really doubt it. I really doubt they're going to touch them. But it's something that I would really like to see get refined and kind of fixed, and return us to basically the old days of being able to drive the actual car, being able to handle the car, you know, the speed of the helicopters, the agileness of the helicopters, and things like that as well. Like I said, this was basically something I covered in the pros section, but the manual gas mask equip taking up a bag slot is something I really don't like. I hope that they kind of maybe make like a little UI maybe in between the bag inventory itself and the ammo. That way it's not too far away from your bag. It's pretty easy to access, but it also doesn't take up a bag space. So that was something I saw. It was kind of annoying because, like, if we have a bag, I don't feel like I should be putting the gas mask in it. And when I have it out, it's just kind of covering my screen, the borders and things like that. It's not extremely noticeable, but it's something that I think would be a lot better if they just were to like refine that and basically have it not take up a bag space. The last and final thing that I saw that was on my con list was the gulags. Now, it wasn't super common and it was pretty rare, but there are going to be public events in the gulag now. So they have, I think, 3. I didn't get to, no, you know, actually I ran into one of them. It was the extra cash one. They have one that basically there's additional cash on the floor. So basically you had to kind of pick like your risk versus reward if you want to pick up money and then your teammates can buy you back. Or if you just want to go ahead and go like win the gulag or not. They have a night vision one, which I didn't get to experience, but I saw many people did. It looked pretty horrible, honestly. But at the same time, like your rival, the person you're playing against, also has a night vision goggles on as well. So it's like the same experience. But like, who really wants to do that? It doesn't look fun. It doesn't look fair or anything like that. So as well as the last one was, I think it doesn't really matter that much, but you get a fully loaded AR, you get a fully loaded SMG, and you have full armor. So that one's like kind of whatever. But the other two, I just, you know, the night vision one especially is like the one on my like #1 list for why would we do this. But at the same time, I mean, we did have 2v2 gulags at one point where your teammate would literally just leave or do nothing or BFK, and then you were stuck in 1v2. So while it's better, it's still on my con list for basically the new Warzone that we have. But that kind of wraps up everything that I had for my pros and my cons and my experience playing the new map, Urzikstan. Overall, it was really positive. It felt great to play. I was really happy with the experience, and everything really was a lot smooth and faster and fluid. So the cons that I said, honestly, I felt like they were just kind of fine-tuned little things. There wasn't anything huge. There wasn't anything drastic that was like, oh my gosh, if this doesn't get changed, like the game is just unplayable. So I really was happy with the experience, and I met a lot of cool people at COD Next. I'm really hoping that maybe another invite is in our future. If not, I made memories and experiences that I will never forget. So thank you, Call of Duty, for the invite again. I really appreciate it and the opportunity to play the game early. It was really fun. I'm really excited for this year because, like I said, I think there's a lot more pros than there are cons going forward. I hope to see them kind of, you know, with time, kind of listen more to the community. And I think that that's really kind of something that they're showing us that they're able to do now with Raven and Sledgehammer Games taking over. So I'm really excited. I think they're going to do a good job. I think they've done a good job, and I'm really looking forward to the future. So as always, guys, I appreciate you guys taking the time to go ahead and watch this video. I know it might be a little bit longer than we usually have, but I appreciate you guys. So as always, stay safe. Have a great rest of your day, night, morning, whatever it might be. And I shall see you guys on the next one. Peace.